This video introduces concepts that will help you understand how music creation works in Western culture, so you should pay close attention to it. In the video Importance of Scales, whose link is given in the description, it was mentioned that scales allow creating different sensations in the listener, and that major scales are suitable for composing melodies that reflect joy, and minor scales for compositions that reflect sadness and melancholy. In the video corresponding to the generation of the C major scale, whose link is also given in the description, it was proven that the notes of the major scales are generated from the harmonic modes of vibration of the sound bodies, and 3 generating chords were identified that give rise to the scale, which are shown in the figure, and constitute the main chords of this and all other major scales, since they clearly establish the key in which a musical work is written, so they are called tonal chords. In this video we will see that the natural minor scale can be generated from the C major scale, knowledge that will allow us to generate later the rest of the minor scales. In this channel we will incorporate melodies that conform to a tonal system in which each of the degrees of the scale fulfills a certain function. Therefore, the fundamental idea of this process of generating this minor scale is that we want its 3 main chords to be located on the same degrees as in the major scale, the 1st, 4th and 5th degrees, and fulfill the same functions as their counterparts in the major scale. For the description of the process of the generation of the natural minor scale from the scale of C that we will show in the following, it is convenient that we use a linear representation of the scales, in which we can easily identify the size of the intervals, since major and minor chords differ in the size of the intervals between their notes. In major chords we have a major third interval, for semitones, followed by a minor third interval, 3 semitones, while in minor chords we have a reverse order, a minor third interval followed by a major third interval. The lower part of the screen shows this linear representation for the C major scale. In it, the names of the chord notes have been circled in color, and the lowest, root, note of those chords has been marked with small black rectangles. The C major chord is built on the 1st degree of the scale, tonic. The F major chord is built on the 4th degree of the scale, subdominant. The G major chord is built on the 5th scale degree, dominant. A careful observation of this linear representation of the C major scale allows us to see that within this scale minor chords are also immersed, which we will show next. In this figure we see that in the C major scale are contained the chords D minor, E minor, and A minor. These 3 chords are the ones that must be found on the 1st, 4th, and 5th degrees of the minor scale we are looking for. Now, since between the chords D minor and E minor there is a separation of 1 tone, these must be the ones that appear on the 4th and 5th degrees, and therefore the A minor chord must appear on the 1st degree. Accordingly, the natural minor scale is obtained by starting the C major scale on its 6th degree, as shown next. The figure shows the minor chords of the C major scale incorporated into the natural A minor scale. We have limited ourselves to presenting only these chords, which are the tonal, principal, chords of this scale, and give it its minor nature, but since it contains the same notes as the C major scale, it also contains the same chords, since these are formed by taking these notes as the fundamental notes of the chords and adding the notes found at an interval of a third and an interval of a fifth. It is said then that the A natural minor scale is the relative scale of the C major scale. Every major scale has a relative minor scale that begins at its 6th degree, and will in turn be the relative scale of this minor scale. The 3 minor chords contain the 7 notes of the A minor scale. Next we will transpose the B note of the E minor chord down 1 octave to show this scale. This figure shows the A natural minor scale. It has been shifted to the right to highlight the fact that it originates on the 6th degree of the C major scale, but from now on it will be shown shifted towards the clef. Much of what has been considered so far is summarized on the screen. This overview constitutes a useful reference for the process of obtaining the rest of the natural minor scales. The main idea is that the relative minor scale of a major scale is obtained by starting at the 6th degree of the major scale, this idea can also be applied in the reverse direction. The relative major scale of a natural minor scale is obtained by starting at the third degree of the minor scale. The intervallic sequence allows to obtain directly the natural minor scale corresponding to any tonic. Next, 3 chord sequences will be played on the clock faces shown on the screen, which will help you become familiar with the function of the 3 tonal chords in the 2 scales considered. Note that the tonic chord, first degree, is used as the starting, resting, and closing chord. That the dominant chord, fifth degree, leads to the tonic chord, and finally, that the subtonic chord, fourth degree, can lead to the dominant chord to return from it to the tonic chord, or return directly to the tonic chord. As you will see, these sequences are made up of transitions between 2 or 3 chords, some of which are important in theory and have been assigned specific names. Thus, the transition from dominant to tonic is called perfect cadence, the transition from subdominant to tonic is called plagal cadence, and the transition from subdominant to dominant, and from this to tonic, is called compound cadence. Let's start with the chord sequence for the C major scale, on the clock face to the left. Notice that once the first 5 chords of the sequence firmly establish the key, the last 3 chords, F, on the 4th degree, subdominant, G, on the 5th degree, dominant, and C, on the 1st degree, tonic, constitute a sequence in which the dominant chord leads so conclusively to the tonic chord that there is a clear sense of completion. Next, the chord sequence for the minor mode will be played. Note that, once the key is established by the first 5 chords, the sequence of the last 3 chords, D minor on the 4th degree, subdominant, E minor on the 5th degree, dominant, does not so effectively suggest the transition to the tonic chord, so there is no clear sense of completion as in the major mode. This is because the E minor chord does not have the note G sharp immediately preceding, leading to, the tonic note A. To make the transition from dominant to tonic more conclusive, we will make a small modification to the previous sequence. We will replace the G note of the E minor chord with the G sharp note, sensitive of the A note, that is, we will use the E major chord instead of the E minor chord. This will result in better resolution to the tonic. Although the incorporated modification leads to an improvement in the resolution to the tonic and a greater sensation of completion, it implies that we are not working strictly with the unnatural minor scale. In fact, we are working with the so-called harmonic minor scale. In a later video, we will consider the 3 versions of minor scales: the natural minor scale we have considered in this video, the harmonic minor scale, and the melodic minor scale. A table with the 7 possible modes of the diatonic scales, known as Greek modes, and also as ecclesiastical modes, is shown on the screen. Apart from the major, Ionian, and minor, Aeolian, modes that we have considered in this video, there are other modes that have been used for centuries. The major and minor modes are by far the most employed. However, recently the rest of the modes are being used in popular music as a source of melodic and harmonic variation. In this study, we have considered concepts such as relative scales, scale harmonization, scale degree functions, cadences, and others, which will be studied in detail in later videos. Much of what was studied focused on the natural minor scale of A relative to the major scale of C, but other aspects related to these scales still need to be considered, such as harmonic minor scales and melodic minor scales, which we will do once we have generated the rest of the natural minor scales and studied the musical key signatures. All this study will help you understand how Western music is created, so you should pay close attention to this video. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you find it very useful.